This is CNN.
This is CNN's Prime News, taking the time to examine world events, issues, and newsmakers. With Bernard Shaw in Washington and Susan Rook in Atlanta.
In about an hour, the curtain goes up on one of the most pivotal moments of George Bush's presidency. A lot is riding on tonight's State of the Union address, the U.S. economy, the Bush re-election campaign, and some might argue the future of the nation. Can the president live up to the advance billings? For a preview of the speech, here's CNN senior White House correspondent Charles Bierbauer.
We've learned one key element of the president's proposal, Susan. It's no surprise that he's calling for a cut in the capital gains tax rate, but it is something of a surprise that the president has agreed to the call of conservatives and is going to ask for a maximum capital gains tax rate of 15%. That's somewhat lower than the president himself had wanted. For weeks now, the president has been painting a broad picture of his economic proposals. Now it's time for him to fill in some detail.
The chair appoints as members of the committee on the part of the House to join a committee on the part of the Senate to notify the President of the United States that a quorum of each House has been assembled and that Congress is ready to receive any communication that he may be pleased to make.
President Bush has largely communicated his plan to deliver an economic growth package, a health care proposal, budget cuts. As policy goes, the State of the Union is only prelude to the White House and Congress's natural wrangling over legislation. But as politics, it's a high-stakes performance for the president.
Bell ringer?
I think it's going to be all right.
Surprises?
Yes.
Actually, White House officials say most of the surprises are out of the bag. The president himself has created expectations for the speech which many think he cannot reach.
The ball is in his court. He needs to provide the leadership.
We welcome his attention to the need for economic stimulus at this time. A tax cut for middle-income working Americans, a temporary investment tax credit to speed up business investment, programs to revive the housing and construction industries are all important and achievable.
Those are not identical to the Bush approach, but both parties have the economy at the top of their election year agenda, and politics is unmistakably part of the equation.
The American people are clamoring for action. They are tired of reading President Bush's lips.
The Democrats won't let the president forget that 1988 no-tax pledge, which was broken by the 1990 budget agreement. There are still elements that are vague as of the speech this evening, and we'll have to read his budget tomorrow to fill in all the detail. Susan?
Charles, what is the word on proposed defense cuts?
Well, the word that's been coming out over the past several days is to look for defense cuts in the neighborhood of $50 billion more than was in that budget agreement. That would be over the next several years. The president and his aides do think that there's a benefit to be reaped from the collapse of the Soviet Union, and there will be something of a sizable additional cut in defense spending. The real question, and this too will come out in the budget details tomorrow, is what they do with that $50 billion cut. As the way the budget agreement stands, it's got to be used to reduce the deficit. There will be some, certainly on Capitol Hill, would like to use it for other programs. Susan?
Thank you, CNN's Charles Bierbauer, continuing to monitor events tonight at the White House. Bernie?
Thank you, Susan. Politics has thrown a wrench into the federal government's printing presses. The White House briefly halted printing of President Bush's new budget when a squabble broke out over some health care provisions. Congressional Republicans apparently did not like some of the proposals and the fact they were not consulted about them. The disputed section has been pulled. The 2,000-page budget is due out tomorrow morning. Democratic presidential candidate Bill Clinton is winding up a campaign swing through the South. The words of the Little Rock, Arkansas woman have been nipping at his heels all along the way, but the Arkansas governor claims he has not been wounded. CNN's national political correspondent Gene Randall reports.
Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton got a rousing reception in the Texas state capitol in Austin on Tuesday. Good news for someone counting on a Southern political base to vault him toward the Democratic presidential nomination. In organization, Clinton is far ahead of the other Democrats in the South, which dominates the Super Tuesday presidential primaries on March 10th.
Your campaign has got lots of foot soldiers. We got lots of people ready to devote the next 6 weeks to carry Texas, and then the next 9 months to carry Texas in November to make you the next president of the United States.
This two-day swing through Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi has been a display of organization, big money fundraising, and important endorsements from hundreds of state, county, and city officials, many of them intent on helping Bill Clinton bury the issue of his personal life.
I want a strong man for president, not God. And I think
Clinton is still answering questions about the Jennifer Flowers episode.
Governor, is that actually you on those tapes that Jennifer Flowers played?
Oh, no, I hadn't listened to him.
But he also says voters have had enough of it.
There was a poll on WAI this morning. 77% of the people here thought the media had spent too much time covering cash for trash and too little time covering the real problems of America.
In the meantime, Clinton campaign officials are encouraged by polls that show after an initial drop, Clinton's front-runner New Hampshire numbers are up.
I think now this matter is in the hands of the American people and in the hands of the press. I'm going back to my campaign and to my message and to reaching out.
The campaign also claims the $400,000 raised during these 2 days in the South is well beyond expectations. In fact, a major Texas supporter says the negative headlines have had a boomerang effect.
I think on Super Bowl night, when Hillary and Bill came to Texas via TV, we won Super Tuesday.
As for Clinton himself, the past few days have included a new burst of rhetorical energy on the stump and a challenge to journalists.
I've taken my character test. Now the character test is, what do you do with cash for trash?
The mood of the Clinton campaign, given all that's happened over the past week, says a key Clinton aide, quote, while there will be bumps in the road ahead, we're getting through it, unquote. Gene Randall, CNN, Houston.
Ahead on Prime News, up, down, or dead in the water. We'll have the latest figures on consumer confidence. We will also bring you some perspective on the president's expected prescription for health care reform and the Moscow round of Middle East peace talks. Who showed up, who didn't, and why.
Oh no, my hair's not only going gray, now it's getting thinner. I wish they made something for gray thinning hair.
They have Grecian Plus. Grecian Plus is a fresh-smelling foam that gradually brings back natural-looking color, the famous Grecian way. But this Grecian has a big plus. It builds body for healthier, fuller-looking hair.
Your hair looks great. Feels thicker, too.
Grecian Plus, the total treatment for gray thinning hair.
Columbia Pictures proudly presents the most memorable American movie of the year. 4 stars. It rips the lid off life in the Soviet Union with a vengeance. 2 thumbs up. The most important movie of the season. One of the year's 10 best films. A must-see, brilliant, shattering, and unforgettable. The Inner Circle, rated PG-13. Starts Friday in select theaters.
Remember when cats sang for Meow Mix?
Meow, 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 meow.
Well, now there's an all-new Meow Mix. With flavors cats prefer 3-to-1. If cats sang for the old Meow Mix, what'll they do now? All new Meow Mix. Tastes so good, cats ask for it by name.
Meow.
To say the least.
I can't remember. It was something new.
Nicoderm, nicotine transdermal system.
Yeah, it's called Nicoderm.
Yeah, the patch. Nicoderm, huh?
Yeah, it's a patch.
Nicoderm, nicotine transdermal system.
The voices of American voters.
I think people are disappointed.
We keep having to compromise.
Hear how people really feel about racism, unemployment, and other major issues. The People's Agenda, a Democracy in America special. Sunday, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Americans are growing pessimistic about their jobs and financial security. That's according to a widely followed index of consumer confidence, which posted a 2% decline in January. This index had leveled off in December after sharp declines in October and November. Some economists are saying this is significant as it shows the government's primary economic stimulus, lower interest rates, may not be working.
The National Research Council says the U.S. trade deficit may be about half as big as many people think. The council study shows the trade gap was $64 billion in 1987. That's compared to that year's official deficit figure of $148 billion. Council says the government watches imports more closely than exports, and that's probably the reason for the discrepancy.
The Senate tonight passed a bill authorizing $850 million to help reform the nation's education system. This measure would send the money to the states. Then local governments would present their own reform plans and ask the states for the grants. Some of the money could be used for so-called choice programs, which allow parents to choose a public school outside their district. Use of the money for private or parochial schools would not be allowed.
In his State of the Union address tonight, President Bush is expected to outline his remedy for the ailing health care system. A tax credit for buying medical insurance reportedly is at the heart of the plan. But as CNN's Jeff Levine reports, critics say it's only a Band-Aid.
Karen Allen will be anxiously watching the State of the Union address. But she doesn't think President Bush will solve her health insurance problems, no matter what he proposes.
Good morning, Smoke Having Resources.
If she loses her job, previous back surgery will make her virtually uninsurable, no matter what the price.
Our insurance company and the ones that have turned me down for coverage after they heard about my back problem are treating me like a second-class citizen, and it feels awful.
Even though the premium has doubled for his 4-employee group to $635 per month in the last 3 years, Karen's boss promises to do the best he can. Currently, he picks up the entire tab.
It's a matter of making a decision at some point. If it comes to the point that I can't afford it, how long that will take, I have no way of knowing.
Healthcare insurance has become a major political concern in this election year, with perhaps 37 million Americans having little or no access to medical care. And increasingly, those who do have coverage are afraid of losing it.
I'm very bitter. I feel the system has let me down.
As the debate has intensified, 3 basic approaches are emerging to health care reform. The most comprehensive is a single-payer system in which the government is responsible for providing health care. The pay-or-play concept guarantees insurance through a person's employer. A system that provides tax credits to purchase health insurance is reported to be President Bush's choice.
I'll call it a grant. Maybe they'll call it a voucher. To go to those poor people, either unemployed or employed people who work for companies that do not have health care now.
But sources say there is an ongoing squabble between White House budget officials and legislators over how to pay for the program. Apparently, a White House plan to increase Medicare premiums for the well-to-do and tax some insurance benefits as income is now on hold. Democrats say the president's plan and a Republican counterpart in the Senate just won't work.
And what's wrong with it is they spend more money, don't provide access to all Americans, and most significantly of all, do nothing about cost containment.
It's not clear how either party would contain runaway health care costs. They've skyrocketed from $27 billion 30 years ago to a projected $800 billion in this election year. Jeff Levine, CNN, Washington.
News from Medicine is brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb Company, makers of Excedrin PM, headache medicine, and it helps you sleep.
A night for Excedrin PM.
This was no day to be me.
It's my life!
Someone had to tell you.
Termites. They said no spouses, so
I can't sleep and my head aches.
You want more than just a pain reliever. You want Excedrin PM, strong aspirin-free headache medicine plus a gentle second ingredient to help you sleep through the night. Aspirin-free Excedrin PM. Headache medicine, and it helps you sleep.
Television's best sports team is the first word in sports. Coverage of the day's sports action, in-depth analysis, behind-the-scenes interviews. CNN Sports Tonight, the first word in sports at 11 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
To achieve your ultimate potential, we introduce Nordic Flex Gold, the newest idea in strength training that is 5 ways better than SoloFlex. Nordic Flex Gold has linear motion to accurately simulate free weights. SoloFlex uses a less effective arcing motion. Nordic Flex Gold has isokinetic resistance to match your natural strength curve for maximum results. With SoloFlex, the resistance is dictated by the stretch of a rubber band. Nordic Flex Gold's isokinetic resistance also gives you speed. There are no steel plates or rubber bands to change between exercises, so your changeover time is up to 40% faster than SoloFlex. Nordic Flex Gold also has an electronic feedback system to measure your performance. SoloFlex doesn't. And best of all, Nordic Flex Gold costs 1/3 less than SoloFlex. Call now to order your Nordic Flex Gold, the ultimate strength training machine for the ultimate body.
Now with Israel and an array of Arab countries began talks in Moscow on the future of the Mideast. This is the first time they've formally discussed issues such as water and environmental policy. However, Kyiv Group is missing because of a dispute between Israel and the Palestinians. Israel rejects any change in the ground rules to allow participation by Palestinians who live outside the occupied territories. The Palestinians refuse to attend unless such delegates are included.
A civilian helicopter has been shot down in a disputed region of Azerbaijan, reportedly killing some 40 men, women, and children on board. The attack occurred in Nagorno-Karabakh, where ethnic Armenians are fighting for independence. No one yet has claimed responsibility for this attack, but an Armenian official claims the Azerbaijani helicopter was carrying weapons for use against Armenian villages. One day after disappearing from public view, Russian President Boris Yeltsin is back in Moscow. Earlier today, he visited with naval commanders of the Black Sea Fleet, insisting those ships belong to the 12 Republic Commonwealth. Neighboring Ukraine wants the fleet divided with Russia. Mr. Yeltsin is expected to meet with President Bush in the United States this weekend at Camp David. And CNN will carry a live Kremlin address by Boris Yeltsin, where he's expected to discuss new proposals on Soviet nuclear weapons. That speech is set to begin later tonight at 1:15 a.m. Eastern.
UN inspectors are reported to be looking for secret biological and chemical weapons plants in Iraq. The Associated Press quotes a private report by the UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali. He expressed doubt that Iraq has told the whole story about its weapons facilities. In Baghdad, the inspectors were mobbed yesterday by about 40 Iraqi demonstrators. 15 inspectors were blocked in their bus for about 25 minutes, and 3 others were jostled against a wall.
Police in South Africa are cracking down on right-wing groups that threaten violence to oppose any power sharing with blacks. One of the most militant, the leader of the neo-Nazi Afrikaner resistance movement, Eugene Terra Blanche, was arrested today with 9 others. In recent weeks, several members of pro-apartheid groups have been arrested. All oppose President F.W. de Klerk's moves toward power sharing with the black majority.
Still ahead on Prime News, Day 2 in the Jeffrey Dahmer trial. Attorneys warn prospective jurors to expect the grisly and the gruesome. And conquering heroes return home. Bernie Shaw is among the fans saying, "Good job, guys."
Larry Bird was born to be a champion. He was instilled with a competitive fire and passion that would never die.
One way or another, Bird kills you.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the knee,
Larry Joe Bird was destined for glory in the game he loved. Get bird watching at its best in this amazing video. Larry Bird, a basketball legend. It's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated, the best way to capture all the drama of sports every week.
There's only one place I'd rather be, French Lick.
Through rare footage, you'll follow the victory trail from the cornfields and basketball courts of Indiana to the hallowed halls of the Boston Garden, where the talented young Hoosier resurrects a fallen dynasty. Call this toll-free number now and be there when the championships are won. Share the glory, live the moments with the man who touched all who saw him play.
Larry Bird never quits. He has eyes all around his head.
We can always just give it to Larry. He needs to step back and shoot a 3.
Bird for 3. Yes!
Exclusive footage captures the hard-fought and emotional duels with longtime rival Magic Johnson.
This game is Larry Bird. He's doing everything.
This official NBA video is a thrilling 60 minutes that you'll enjoy again and again, free from Sports Illustrated. Get your free video and a full year of Sports Illustrated. 54 issues, including the swimsuit issue, for only $1.29 an issue. Save over 55% off the cover price. And you may use your credit card. Follow all your favorites and all the excitement in Sports Illustrated. Call now to subscribe or renew and get this memorable video free. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. Don't miss this heartwarming tale of a boy who lived his dreams, the dreams of a champion. It's the story of a legend. The legend lives in Sports Illustrated. Call now.
Fear of graphic details of mutilation and murder are causing some prospective jurors to shy away from Jeffrey Dahmer's case. Jury selection reached the halfway point today. Serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer sat quietly while lawyers asked potential jurors if they would be disgusted by testimony about cannibalism, dismemberment, and sex with corpses. Dahmer has pleaded guilty to killing 15 young men in Milwaukee. The trial is to determine his sanity at the time.
In Indianapolis, 11 jurors have been selected in the rape trial of former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson. A Miss Black America contestant accuses Tyson of raping her last July. Tyson said she consented to having sex. Today, attorneys argued over the meaning of the words yes and no to sexual advances. 16 jurors are expected to be seated, with 12 deciding Tyson's guilt or innocence.
Despite a hectic schedule of scientific experiments, Discovery's multinational crew paused long enough today to phone home. Astronaut Roberta Bondar, neurologist from Canada, was scheduled to speak this evening by telephone with Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Earlier, the 7-member crew held a space-to-ground news conference in German, English, and French. The crew also paused to remember the 7 Challenger astronauts who died 6 years ago today. A program note, CNN will provide live coverage of Discovery's scheduled landing. That's Thursday at 11:09 a.m. Eastern.
It is the dream of every national politician. Thousands of people in the nation's capital cheering their approval. When Prime News returns, we'll tell you why that man you just saw is so popular in Washington.
What happens when you buy Purina Biscuits brand dog snacks? You get a coupon worth $1.50 off any Purina dog food. Here's how it works. Buy Purina Biscuits, get $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off.
Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina.
Remember, with Purina Biscuits, you'll never have to pay full price for Purina dog food again.
Nice dog!
Car and Driver magazine declared its road manners are in the import vein, but comfort is better. And if you're wondering what else they have to say about the new Oldsmobile 88 Royale, call 1-800-332-OLDS. We'll send you their complete test drive evaluation on videocassette, free. Because when Car and Driver says the new 88 has hit the elusive style mark, it deserves more of your time than we can give it here. Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering.
All across the USA, great deals on the road. I go Hojo.
Right now, take advantage of our special sale rates, and you can win a great new Geo tractor or over 1,000 other prizes. And on your second stay, pick up a free sports pack.
When the sun goes down at the end of every day, America turns to orange. Howard Johnson today. Howard Johnson today.
What could be better than that warm after the holidays feeling?
How about Pearl's 30 to 60% off sale?
Every frame in the store is on sale.
Every lady's frame.
Every men's frame.
Every kid's frame.
Every frame is 30 to 60% off regular price. You don't even need a coupon. There's a far, far bigger sale than Pearl has ever had before. But hurry,
The sale will soon be history.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen McGinnis at the CNN Center in Atlanta. In the Pacific Northwest, back-to-back weather systems keeping the rain and the showers, even some thunder showers in the forecast. Thunder showers were seen earlier today at Seattle and Tacoma. There's another batch of moisture which lies in wait for Wednesday evening and for Thursday. And across the southeast, some scattered showers have materialized throughout South Florida and Central Florida. And right now, some showers at Apalachicola, Jacksonville, Orlando, even back over into McAllen, Texas. And we're seeing some scattered showers in Savannah and some pretty cold air, which is filtered in across northern New England. What about daytime high temperatures? Miami, close to 80 degrees. Chicago, just about 38. And if you're traveling to Los Angeles, a daytime high of 77. CNN's Prime News continues now with Susan Rook.
Karen, thanks. Well, when the president arrives at events, the band strikes up Hail to the Chief. But to many in Washington, the song they are most familiar with is Hail to the Redskins. CNN's Carl Rochelle takes a look at the fans, the team, and their Super Bowl celebration.
This wasn't the State of the Union or the federal budget. This was serious business, a victory celebration for the Super Bowl champ. There was a little sympathy for the Buffalo Bills.
They lost and you have no mercy, right?
Oh, just maybe a little teeny bit.
The crowd was a mixture of football fanatics, tourists, and the curious. This group is from the General Services Administration Daycare Center. Their daily outing just happened to coincide with the rally.
Not really. We're down here for the kids, too. For the kids, too. Yeah. They like music and they like the crowd, so they have a lot of good time.
Almost everyone came dressed for the occasion.
It cost me $100. I had a friend made it. It was worth it.
From helmets and honkers to a hog in a tree, they all wore Redskin regalia. Like most victory rallies, there were bands. Quarterback and most valuable player Mark Rippon and a half-dozen other Redskin players are headed for the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. They missed the rally, but for those players who were here, the reception was thunderous.
Here he is, Art Monk!
So, too, for the winning coach. But the crowd had little interest in politicians.
We'd like to introduce to you the mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly.
That was the only boo of the day. The park police predicted 200,000 people would crowd the mall for the victory rally, but they said only 75,000 showed up.
Somewhere in this city, people may be worrying about the State of the Union address. Some may even be concerned about getting reelected. But here on the mall, there is only one interest, celebrating the victory of the Washington Redskins over the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Already they're talking about next year, saying, we'll do it again. Carl Rochelle, CNN, at the Redskins rally in Washington.
Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton has apologized to New York Governor Mario Cuomo. At issue are some remarks in the tape recordings made public yesterday by Jennifer Flowers. In the tapes, Governor Clinton says Cuomo, quote, acts like a mafioso and refers to Cuomo as, quote, a mean son of a bitch. Cuomo first refused to accept the apology, then suggested everyone get back to the issues. In a moment, we'll begin our special preview coverage of the President's State of the Union address, and we'll hear what some Americans will be looking for in that much-promoted speech.
Your Chrysler Plymouth dealer's big clearance is almost over. Get savings up to $2,000 or 0% financing. Save on Voyager and McLean. Get 1,000 or 0% on Sundance, 1,000 on Laser. Get big savings on Chrysler's LeBaron sedan and on the Chrysler Imperial. It's all part of their drive for the gold clearance. So hurry in. This is the time to save a bundle. Let's face it, time's running out. See your Chrysler Plymouth dealers now. The big clearance ends soon.
The IBM Laser Printer 10 can print 700 pages without reloading. 3 times more than the leading laser printer. They just don't stack up. The new IBM laser printers put you pages ahead.
Ricola, the all-natural herb cough drop imported from Switzerland. Ricola has been soothing throats and relieving coughs naturally for over 60 years.
Well, all my friends drink. I mean, it's not like we get drunk or anything.
I don't have the problem. You have the problem.
No more drinking.
Stop crying!
I promise it's the last time.
Get off my back!
You've tried everything. Nothing's worked, but there is hope. Get through to us at the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, and we'll help you get through to them. Just as we've helped thousands of others. Just don't give up.
What's the matter? Don't you trust me?
I like scrambled eggs, pies, chips. This is good.
You know, when I was a kid.
All I cared about was making money.
Well, that was success to us then.
Now, I can spend time with my grandkids.
Like my grandpa spent with me.
What do you think about that, huh?
For Harlan Edwards, it was a day he'll never forget. Over at Leo's,
I never went.
he took his daily shot at getting rich, and for the first time, won. But what he remembers most
The liberation of Kuwait.
is what he did once he heard that war had started.
You can hear the bombs now. They are hitting.
Harlan sat down in front of the television, fairly certain that the world was now changed forever. Not to mention our way of learning about it.
None of us will ever forget.
Will Mr. Bush's speech touch Americans? Can he help them improve their lives? To answer those questions, CNN will spend this evening with some people in New Hampshire and California, the first and one of the last presidential primary states. We begin in New Hampshire, where CNN's Deborah Potter introduces us to the Southwick family.
For the moment, at least, both Alan and Elaine Southwick are working full-time.
I'll be seeing you at supper time?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But they're nervous about the future. Both were laid off for a time 3 years ago. Alan now has a job with a defense contractor that doesn't feel too secure.
We've had 2 layoffs within the last 6 months that have cut our force probably by about 20%, 30%. You never know what's going to happen next in terms of your job security or where you're going to be 2 months from now. You just are constantly having this feeling of looking over your shoulder.
Elaine, trying to sell real estate in a depressed market, shares that apprehension.
I guess my feeling is I could be there next, you know. I think you're always concerned with where are you going to come up with the money to, to put your children through college.
College is a few years off for 15-year-old James, now a freshman in a public high school. But 20-year-old Aaron had to drop out of college after just 2 years.
All right, break this way.
He's now working at a local restaurant and living at home.
I want to go back to school, but I just don't have the money to do it right now. It just kind of puts a strain on everything. I mean, there's more household arguments now and stuff like that because money's tight.
The Southwicks are coping, but curbing their dreams. Plans to expand the house are on hold. They're living day to day.
It's disappointing and it's frustrating. It's kind of, there are so many things you want to do. You want to live out the American dream, if you will. It's impossible to do in these uncertain times.
And those concerns are uppermost in the Southwick home here in Bedford, New Hampshire, as the family gets ready to listen to President Bush's speech tonight. Alan, what are you listening for in the State of the Union address?
I think what I want to hear most from Mr. Bush is leadership. He needs to spark the nation, the Congress, and the people to rally behind him to do something about the fix we're in.
Specifics? Is that what you want?
Specifics probably don't mean a whole heck of a lot coming directly from him because the Congress has to act on whatever he does. So it has to be a joint effort between both the President and the Congress. The Congress implements what the President decides he wants to do, assuming they agree with it. And as we know from past experience, the Congress doesn't always agree with what the President wants.
So you're looking more for a tone than a list?
I think so, yeah. He has to give a rallying cry because I think that's what the people need at this point, is somebody to get behind and to follow.
Elaine, if you could tell President Bush what you'd like him to say tonight, presuming he has, time to change his speech, what would it be?
Well, that's a real good question. I wish I had time to ask several questions, but I guess what I'd like to ask him most of all is, with all the resources that the United States has, we have talented economists, we have scientists, we have engineers, we have all the resources. Why can't we find a way to get out of these economic depression? Why we have people going to the moon? We win wars. Why can't we solve our economic problems? We need jobs. We need incentives to put our people back to work.
Do you want him to give a prescription for doing that?
We need the leadership. We need to believe in him. We need to believe that he can accomplish what needs to be done.
Aaron, you're in school, or we're in school, and not in school now because of money. Do you have specific concerns, given your stage in life, that you'd like the president to address tonight?
I think he definitely has to be concerned with the education issue. I mean, he did say he was going to be the education president, And, I mean, the reason I'm not in school right now has a lot to do with the monetary situation. I think he definitely has to address that. I mean, there's a lot of young voters who are very concerned with the education issue.
Anything else? What about health care? Everybody talks about it. Is it an issue for you?
It is for me, especially right now, because I'm not in school, so I'm not under a health plan. I don't have insurance right now. I think national health care is a big issue, and I think something definitely has to be done, maybe not on a national health care level, but something to do with the insurance and how that's controlled.
To take care of that. Thank you all very much. We'll obviously be watching very closely here to the President's State of the Union address in just a few minutes. Bernie?
Thank you, Deborah. Up next, we'll meet some California residents who will be giving us feedback on the President's State of the Union address.
All across the USA, great deals on the road. I go Hojo.
Right now, take advantage of our special sale rates, and you can win a great new Geo Tracker or over 1,000 other prizes. And on your second stay, pick up a free sports pack.
When the sun goes down at the end of every day, America turns to orange. Howard Johnson today. Howard Johnson today.
Why is it so busy at McDonald's?
It's such a good deal right now. We have 59-cent hamburgers, 69-cent cheeseburgers.
Price is low, it tastes great. Can't beat it.
You name it, we got it. People love us. Check out the prices.
How much is a cheeseburger this week at McDonald's?
69 cents.
And next week?
69 cents.
How much does a 59-cent hamburger cost?
59 cents.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you just said it. Come on down and see us. Prices are great and the food's great. You can't beat that.
Is there more pressure being in a commercial or working at McDonald's?
Being in a commercial.
Let's add a few graphics.
I like that.
And if we add another color...
At Pip Printing, we know it's not just another brochure or presentation. It's your business. This is great. Pip Printing. Give us a call. We'll show you why we're the biggest business printer in the world.
Flossie Dijon for Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
When they diagnosed me as having inoperable cancer, I didn't think I'd ever be fishing again. I'm certainly glad I went to Cancer Treatment Centers of America to enjoy my life again. My family, my husband. You could get well. I'm living proof.
Call 1-800-227-3300. It could save your life.
Now, a West Coast perspective on the State of the Union and the prospects for President Bush's speech tonight. Our man, CNN's Dan Blackburn, introduces us to a cross-section of Californians who will be listening closely to what Mr. Bush has to say.
It is clear that voters here and elsewhere across the nation await the President's State of the Union with a mixture of hope and skepticism. George and Esta Abrams, retired for 8 years, voted for George Bush in 1988, but now have doubts.
I'd like him to really take some real strong leadership to guide the country out of the doldrums that it's in, instead of worrying about for somebody else. I think, as many people think, that charity begins at home.
Of course, health care is very important. There's no brushing that aside. But in addition to that, I feel that he ought to give consideration to the middle and lower income young people that are having such a difficult time struggling through.
People like Cheryl Brennan, a 35-year-old paralegal and single mother of 2 young children.
If I could say anything to the president, it would be that I would like for him to turn his attention back to our country and take a good hard look at how the recession is affecting everyone across the board.
Deputy District Attorney Robert Grace sees some of the more grim aspects of society in his work with the gang unit. A Democrat, Grace wants to see more jobs.
We need some real help in terms of putting young people to work. I think there's just too many young people in America who have no hope. And when you have no hope, you turn to desperate measures, such as crime.
John and Kim Dugan splurged recently and bought a piano. John is a computer programmer. Kim is about to be laid off from her job with a financial services firm. Both are Republicans, but feel President Bush needs more domestic focus.
Jobs just aren't there, and he's going to have to provide more jobs
within the United States for people to start working again.
I would address President Bush, and I would encourage him to come with a message that addresses the American people with a plan, not just a quick fix, because I think Americans realize a quick fix just isn't going to do it.
As with many of their fellow Americans, the message to the president is, think domestic.
But even if the president thinks domestic, there is still a wide range of issues that must be laid out that he must choose among. And Esther, I'm wondering whether you think among those issues, whether he should direct his attention in part specifically to the problems that now face an aging population in this country.
I feel very strongly about that, since the seniors seem to become a majority in this country. We're living longer, thank God for all the medical advances that keeps our life expectancy longer than it is now. And for that alone, we need continued health care in order to continue doing what we're doing.
Well, you work as a volunteer with senior citizens here.
Yes, I do.
And what do they tell you that they need the most?
They're fearful of their health, and they have many problems trying to get places to live, get help, assisting them in their late years when they're unable to do a lot for themselves. They generally need assistance in every area of living.
And do they think they're getting it now?
Not enough. Not enough at all. They call the center very often to see if there are any volunteers that can come out and give them areas of need that the center can provide, which we do, but that is not through government funds. That's through our volunteer people.
Robert Grace, as a deputy district attorney, you're kind of at the other end of the scale with the age level you work with and the gang unit. Most of the people you have to deal with are fairly young. How can the president, in a State of the Union address, say something that will reach those people?
Well, I think the president has to set a tone that he is going to care for the entire nation. When he started out his administration, he talked about a kinder, gentler nation, but he didn't put any specifics with the program. People need jobs, people need hope, and our young people, most of all, need hope. He's got to somehow get that across in the State of the Union speech, give young people something to grasp onto.
More than rhetoric, something that they can actually see and sense is real?
They need jobs, they need specifics, they need something that they can point to and hold on, some goals, some direction in life. It's kind of hard for a president to get that across in just one State of the Union speech, but I think young people in particular need to hear from him something very specific that they can grasp onto, something they can say, hey, in 4, 5, 10 years, I can see myself doing that. I can see myself building a career in that particular area.
Cheryl, as a single mom, you've got some very special concerns, and that is what your small children are going to grow up in the kind of world. What can the president offer you?
Hopefully he can address a broad range of issues and set in motion things that will make the world not only a safer place for my children, but a brighter place. I would like to see him address education. The issues of child care loom large for me. About 1/3 of my income goes for child care. And these issues, when a woman is trying very hard to go out and provide for her family, it's very easy to get discouraged and stop in your tracks and be concerned for the kind of world that we have for our children when your day-to-day existence is so difficult.
Would child care be the center of that? Would it be easier for working mothers like yourself to be more comfortable in what you're doing if you knew that there was a place for child where you could have your child cared for properly?
Yes, it's very difficult. I send my child off. I have a son who's 4 years old. I send him off every morning to a daycare center that's fabulous, but it's very costly. And I count my blessings because I'm very aware that I have advantages and resources that a lot of women in my position do not have. And that's really my greatest concern.
John, you came out of the Air Force. You were lucky. You got a job right away in the defense industry. You got out of the defense industry before the roof fell in. So in a sense, you're a lucky fella. What could the president tell you in the State of the Union message?
Well, as an average Joe in the American economy, I'm very concerned about the trade deficit, and I'm very concerned about the future of my job. Of course, he's pulling millions of dollars out of the local economy, and it seems that as the average taxpayer, we see money that's going to be taken from defense and put in other places, hopefully domestically, but yet you can't help but wonder where a lot of the tax dollars are being wasted. I certainly believe that we don't need to increase tax dollars and still meet all the needs domestically. I feel what we do need to do is evaluate our tax dollars in the way they're being spent today. I certainly feel that we can reevaluate our issues.
But one of the things he's almost certain to do is cut the defense budget, which is one of the reasons you got out of the defense industry. And yet here in Southern California and in parts of the East Coast and other places as well, that's a huge impact on any local economy. What would you like to hear him say he's going to do with that money?
I would like to hear the president say that he was going to address an issue where we can take all these talented engineers we have in the Southern Bay and across the country and deploy them for a workforce that's working for something in a civilian manner, but very productive. We have an opportunity to develop different transportation models, for instance, flying. We can produce the world's best commercial aircraft if we set our mind to it, using the talent resources we have in the Southern Bay today.
Robert, I'd like to come back to you for just a moment, if I might. As a deputy district attorney, crime has always been an issue that the president has liked to address. What can he say that would help you as a deputy DA?
The president can come out and say that he's going to put some real teeth behind the war on drugs. He hasn't put the type of money that's going to be necessary to stop the flow of drugs into this country. He needs to get on top of that right away because we have a runaway problem with drugs, which is the foundation for a lot of crime that goes on, robberies, car thefts, things of that nature. If we can put a dent in that, I think you'd see a significant drop in crime across the country.
So, Bernie, as you can see, the problems that the people here are concerned with are very much the same kinds of problems that we heard about from New Hampshire, and we're hearing about really from all across the country at this time. And I think that right now in this room, and I suspect in living rooms all across America, people are waiting to hear exactly how President Bush will address these issues. I'm Dan Blackburn, CNN Live in Sherman Oaks, California.
Thank you, Dan. It certainly seems that way. Coming up, the State of the Union as a launching pad for political promises.
What would the classroom be like without cable? Cable companies across America have made a commitment to provide free service and programming to every secondary school in their communities. Cable contributes to life.
Some days it goes your way. You've got the style, you've got the say. Some days you're out of sight. You've got the dream and you've got the ride.
A great day calls for a great beer. The Michelob beers. With that smooth classic taste you don't find every day.
Michelob, some days. Michelob, some days. Michelob, some days are better than others.
Thanks to an incredible new development at Pip Printing, you can now get these 4-color jobs for surprisingly few of these 1-color jobs. Full process color. One more reason Pip Printing's the biggest business printer in the world.
This election year, one special program will give you a different way of looking at politics. You'll see voting records, not just rhetoric. You'll get analysis, not just campaign information. And you'll understand the process, not merely follow it. This election year, for a closer look at politics, CNN takes you inside. Inside Politics 92, weekdays 4:30 Eastern on CNN.
Clearly, Americans are anxious to hear what this president actually does say in his State of the Union address. A CNN Gallup poll finds when the speech begins, 7 of 10 Americans want to watch. The State of the Union address originally was a status report to Congress, but analysts predict this will be the most important speech of George Bush's re-election campaign. CNN's Larry Lamont explains the evolution of the State of the Union address.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
The ghosts of more than 200 years of tradition give the State of the Union message mystique and importance, yet it is often a president's least memorable report.
And so let us have our debates, let us have our honest differences, but let us join in keeping the national interest first.
They're always a little bit disappointing. You can never remember them a week afterwards, but still I think it's a necessary exercise.
In our economy, it is a myth that we must choose endlessly between inflation and recession.
The president is acting as president, and Congress is acting as Congress in a way that legitimizes the three branches of government. And it's a very powerful moment as a result, even if the speech says nothing.
This is the conference report. A 1,053 pages report weighing 14 pounds.
The State of the Union has really become mostly theater. It really no longer serves the purpose as originally intended to communicate exactly what's on the president's mind.
From the moment the ink dried on the U.S. Constitution, presidents have struggled with the requirement for an annual State of the Union report to Congress.
George Washington delivered the first State of the Union address amidst pomp and ceremony. But in that speech, he refused to propose legislation to Congress because of his belief the president should play only a minor role in the new government. Thomas Jefferson refused to even appear before Congress, sending written State of the Union messages instead. He feared any public appearance might resemble the King of England's appearances before Parliament. Besides, Jefferson hated public speaking. The tradition he began lasted for more than 100 years. It was broken by a man who loved public speaking. Woodrow Wilson sought to humanize the office of president. So in his first State of the Union address, he told members of Congress, "I consider myself to be a person, not a mere department of government."
I speak today in an hour of national peril and national opportunity.
Personalization reached undreamed of levels when television and John F. Kennedy teamed up to deliver the annual message. But television tempted presidents to make the report more political because the audience now included the American people, leaving congressmen feeling like props in a grand play where even the clapping is choreographed.
Those applause are led by applaud leaders. And, you know, there's always somebody that claps first, and that person has been told when to clap and knows the place in the script when to clap, and then everybody else joins in.
But we're only at the beginning of the road to the great society.
Television's impact increased even more when President Johnson moved the speech from noon to prime time.
If TV didn't exist, then I think it would be easier for a State of the Union speech to have its straightforward, explicit purpose to be a big laundry list, a big encyclopedia.
If you did all of that, you would end up with a speech that would rival a Fidel Castro performance. It would have to run on 4 or 5 hours, and you'd still have to cut some.
Political commercials are generally 30 seconds in length. That's often thought to be the attention span of many people interested in government or politics.
But while television audiences demand brevity, government agencies demand attention. Each year, agencies pressure the White House to mention their programs and projects in the State of the Union.
Does it get competitive? Yes. Does it get nasty sometimes? Yes. Sure. Everyone's working under pressure. What the White House cannot do is permit the bureaucratic tendencies of the State of the Union to overwhelm the writing of the speech. He's headed for disaster if he gets up there and recites a laundry list.
In the Kennedy administration, the president delivered the State of the Union message as an overall theme or umbrella.
It's a failure of the Carter presidency that Carter didn't deliver thematic speeches that could coalesce the country. Ronald Reagan understood the visual capacity of television better than anyone before or since.
In 1986, Ronald Reagan used that visual capacity to spotlight a 13-year-old boy.
Trevor left his suburban Philadelphia home to bring blankets and food to the helpless and homeless.
Served a good crowd tonight.
Trevor Farrell is now 19, still helps the poor, and understands politics much better.
He made it look like, you know, he cares about things by honoring us, by, you know, but that really doesn't solve the problem or help the problem.
In 1984, President Reagan used a young Army sergeant, Stephen Trujillo, to create the appearance of broad bipartisan support for the Grenada invasion.
Despite the imminent explosion of the burning aircraft, he never hesitated. He ran across 25 yards of open terrain through enemy fire to rescue wounded soldiers. God bless you.
The Democrats stand and applaud. What they've managed to applaud, of course, is Reagan's action in Grenada. Reagan transformed the State of the Union into an exercise in visual power.
Today, Trujillo is out of work, writing a book.
If he was able to humanize the invasion, well, that's pretty brilliant, don't you think?
President Bush reportedly isn't as comfortable as President Reagan delivering a formal speech. But his fourth State of the Union coincides with the restlessness in America about a faltering economy.
I think I'm definitely going to pay attention to what he has to say. The way the recession is right now, I think Bush has to come up with a very good plan to bring more jobs back.
A good plan, and according to some, the best speech of his life.
If President Bush doesn't follow the well-worn path of previous years and says, this is a make-or-break speech for me and for our economy and for our place in the world, then it could make a difference.
The State of the Union is one of the more important forms of discourse delivered by a president. Those who've understood its power have used it in order to establish the breadth and depth and thematic coherence of their presidencies. Those who didn't understand its power have also tended to be the presidents who have failed.
To succeed, political insiders say, George Bush must deliver the most political, thematic, and narrowly focused State of the Union ever written.
Members of the Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Larry Lamont, CNN Special Reports, Washington.
And that concludes this edition of Prime News. We will return very shortly with special coverage of the President's State of the Union address set to begin a few minutes from now.
How about a piece of pie?
Maybe.
You want to see a movie?
Maybe.
I can see you as a lawyer. You never give a straight answer.
And I can see you as an architect.
I don't know if I can see myself being an architect.
For the rest of my life.
Why not? Life is short.
I want to have fun.
Maybe when I look back, I'll be happy I was a good lawyer.
Maybe you'll look back and be glad you schooled this Sunday.
Maybe.
Here's who can. The Crescent Man can.
At Crescent, our people make the difference. Friendly professionals ready to help you find the right car, truck, or van at the right price and provide reliable, convenient service after the sale. Crescent Chevrolet Geo. Downtown for 60 years.
Friendly Crescent Chevrolet.
Direct from Broadway and the heart of rock and roll comes Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, the sensational hit musical that's raising the roof in London, Australia, and now in theaters across America. The star that had them cheering, the songs that had them bopping, the story that went down in history. Come down for the wildest night out since 1959.
Live at the Des Moines Civic Center for 3 performances only, February 4th through 6th. Call and charge your tickets today.
To be effective, your advertising must be seen by all the right people. Place it on cable television in Des Moines. Heritage Cablevision lets you advertise your product or service on channels your customers are watching. That targeting, together with our low spot cost, makes cable advertising in Greater Des Moines one smart buy. Reach all the right people. Call Heritage Advertising Sales today. Cable television advertising. It's affordable and it's effective.